All right, welcome amazing agents and investors from across the country. Today is August 29th, 2019, and this is Mastermind Call number 242. Again, as always, if you'd like to jump in the queue and ask a question, I see we have people joining, so thank you. Press star 6 and 1, that way we can get you in and you can ask your questions. Just want to make sure, I'm Kat, for anyone that doesn't know. The sales team, are you guys here?
We are all here.
Okay, awesome. I see you guys jumping in the queue. All right, so let's get started. Again, if you're just jumping on, this call is going to be a little bit different. Chad, Tim, Tom, and Jim are all out to sea. Lucky them, right? But we're going to be taking any questions you have about social media as well as anything about our entire probate process here. If you are dealing with a transaction and want us to try to field your question, we do actually have a good amount of expertise among the four of us, and we'll do our best. And if it's something that's beyond our reach, we'll get you in the right hands to get your question answered. So I have someone in the queue already. I know this is Renee. You're up, Renee. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you guys hear me?
Hi. Sure can. How are you?
Good. Thank you for always fielding my inquiries. So I'll keep it short. I'm new to the program, so hopefully this will be helpful for somebody else as well. Just quickly with my logistics, I just got the first batch of my calls yesterday, so I'm going to start to do that and not wait, for the letters to go out. So the next process then is to just pick my letters. But is everything automated, or maybe should I just get one of you to kind of a once-over your eyeballs on it to make sure that I've done it correctly? That's number one. And number two is, I think I heard Chad say to just send like 3 of the same letter, or 2 to 3 times in the month. So that, again, these are logistic questions and just setting up the mailers.
Sure. He typically recommends at least 3 rounds of mailers per set of leads. Within your CRM, there are certain options for you to go in and opt, especially as you're making multiple touches with different leads. So you get a response from somebody and you want to go back into the CRM and opt them out from future mailings. That can all be done in the CRM by you. That way we can automate your mailing, and next time we do a second or third round, we don't keep touching the same people you've already maybe you have a deal that you're working on with. I'm not sure if Darcy, Natalie, or Jordan want to jump in here and go over really what the best steps that you can take to go over some of the different letter templates that we have. That way you can customize your mailings here.
Yeah, well, and Renee, this is...
Yeah, I saw that.
This
is... okay.
I was going to say, this is Jordan. We'll definitely work with you to make sure that your letter gets proofed. It looks unique to you, your market, not similar to anyone else's that would potentially be in a similar county like yours. So we'll always work to make sure that that looks unique, and if there's suggestions we can make, we'll definitely let you know. And we can have one of our mailing representatives reach out to you to go over that. As for the different mailings, I know I've listened on a Mastermind Call in the past where Chad had mentioned he was part of a research study on tracking mailings and response rates, and he sent out, I think, somewhere around 10,000 different mailers overall, and he was trying to track to see if sending out the same letter 3 times in a row, a different letter, once a month for 3 months, he could not find any difference in results. It kind of frustrated him because he hoped to come back and say, here's what you need to do, but overall the idea is just to send out the letter, get that marketing touch so you're more top of mind for that person, whether it's the same letter or a different one.
Yeah, I was going to say, he has a tips for the trainer video. I'll link you guys in the Facebook group, as well as if you catch these conference calls on YouTube or on the website after. The video is called Direct Mail Isn't Dead. And that's really where Chad talks about literally every different color envelope he tried to send out and his numbers for his results. So it's actually, I think it's like 12 or 15 minutes long, so he goes over a bunch of different things he tested out and what the results were.
Okay, I wrote that down. And you know what, I won't take up too much more time, but go ahead.
This is Darcy. Renee, all of our letters that we have in that subscriber portal area have been proven to be successful. So we can just say, pick one that fits you and your business a bit more, really customize it, personalize it, make it fit you and your business. But we'd be, always happy to review that for you as well.
And that, like, one of you could send me a little email so I know who to talk to when I do that, because I'm doing that today. So I'm just going to set everything up and, like, have it go out, but just another set of eyeballs to whomever that is. I would appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Renee, I'll
Okay.
take care of that for you. This is Darcy. I'll send an email over to you.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
All right, awesome. Renee, I know if anyone hasn't already seen it, Renee had actually brought a question to me, I think it was Thursday, and she really wanted to know, are our Facebook ads worth it? And I was prepared to talk about that on this call, and I realized the whole hour would go by, and I'd only barely be able to graze the surface of the subject. So if you haven't seen it already, if you go to the All the Leads blog, the newest post up there, it's titled, Are Facebook Ads Worth It? I went ahead and I broke down really my stance on Facebook advertising. It's my perspective that the free Facebook lunch is kind of over. Facebook doesn't really care to see anyone succeed through organic growth. They ultimately want you to pay to promote and boost the things that you're doing because that's how they make their money. But in that article, you'll see tips for setting up the basic framework from your personal profile, your Facebook business pages, and even utilizing Facebook groups as a tool to grow your Facebook and your brand presence through Facebook without really having to throw a bunch of money at the wall and hoping it works. I wasn't sure if Renee, if there's anything you wanted to expand on within that area here.
Yeah, I think for me it's in the pillars of the business, one of them being a farm, an actual traditional farm, so it's outside of the scope really of just probate. I think that could be a nice to have. It's not something that I want to do immediately because I really got from your article the level of consistency and how much time it can take. I know for me, sometimes I get caught up in other people's blogs and you know, they're doing a whole bunch of stuff that looks really cool and have a potential videographer, you know, following them around and doing all that. That's at a cost. You know, that person's basically doing all the editing and so forth, but that's at a cost. So it's sort of the shiny object syndrome where, you know, is it the question being, yeah, I probably am behind, so to speak, because I'm not full on participating in that arena. And yet I don't know too many other real estate agents that are spending the money to do that and are really having the ROI kind of play out. I think it's just another top of mind. So that's just an opinion, you know, on it. I think if we're going to do it like anything else, be consistent. So that's just my 2 cents. But how that could then pertain to probate would be interesting, like perhaps actually doing it just as a one-shot in your house, you know, or at the office, and just be consistent with answering questions that people have, or, you know, that kind of thing, and also maybe utilizing that for vendor relationships or other attorneys. Like, I don't know anybody else in this group also, since I'm new, who might even be doing this at a high level, you know, the video, just maybe not totally digital mayoring it, but like video to just create content.
Sure. So one of my golden rules is if you're seeing everyone else doing it, you're going to probably need a much better strategy or something that's different, because otherwise you're going to have to put up a bigger budget or a much better strategy, which takes trial and error, that takes time for it to really bring you a solid ROI. Just in certain markets, especially for investors and wholesalers, if you drive around your own market and you see those "we pay cash for houses" bandit signs everywhere, you know, you throwing your own bandit sign up there might not be an effective strategy. Likewise, if the opposite is true and no one's really doing it, it can be really, really effective. One thing I would say, it's always a gamble when you're putting time and money into an ad campaign, because it's going to take split testing, it's going to take trial and error, and it's going to take a strong sense of attention for you to really watch how your first trial and error ads play out. If you're not seeing results, you obviously need to tweak things. If you're running multiple ads, you want to kind of pay closer attention to the ones that are working and how you can optimize those ads even further. It can take many, many steps to come up with a very successful ad campaign. But if you're coming from traditional real estate, you already have listings that you're marketing on Facebook, right?
Well, that's the funny thing. You know, I haven't really delved into that because the majority of my stuff ends up selling pretty quickly. So that was part of the emphasis of this question, is to more for like brand awareness, I would say, my name awareness, and how that could play out in probate with maybe not even using the probate word. It just seems to me like everybody on the street wants a deal. So between the fix and flip shows on HGTV and, everybody thinks real estate's the place to make money, which it is, is a long play, right? But it just party conversation. People just think that real estate is, I want the off-market opportunity. So maybe that's like where I'm going from a marketing standpoint, is how to take these probates that I have that might be more on the fixer side and potentially utilize a Facebook ad as an off-market opportunity. Then I think to myself, is that just collecting leads, or what is that? Like, I kind of understand the Facebook arena, but I guess the point is, are you just collecting leads, and is it really going to convert, and should I just maybe not even bother with it and go and have more investor and vendor relationships to where I can just close these transactions or put on the MLS in a traditional way? Like, I don't want to miss the Facebook ads, but it just sounds like it might not.
All types of marketing are going to, you're really going to, especially for brand awareness building, are going to require multiple touches in most cases. You might get the one lucky person that's ready right now and they happen to see your ad, but Facebook especially it's meant to be passive marketing. And what I mean by that is it's going to be seen by people that aren't actively seeking out what you're presenting them.
Yeah.
You're just trying to find an audience that is most likely to be interested or would find the services you offer appealing now or most likely in the future. That's what makes Facebook a little bit different than Google. Google really allows you to capitalize on search intent at that moment. And they try to, if they know someone's searching for something that you're paying them to advertise to, that's when Google's going to show your listings, your ads first in the top of their ad space. Well, with Facebook, that's why for one, you really need a strategy. But for two, if you're coming from a place where you already have an audience, you have your lead list, within Facebook's Business Manager, you can actually take lists of clients you already have or lists of prospects you've already accumulated. You can upload that to your Facebook business account and start using those, that information. Facebook will try to match them with a Facebook profile. So if you have a John Doe in this city and this email address, Facebook's going to try to automatically give them a little hash. That way they know this person you're trying to market to is connected to this Facebook profile. They'll build your audience match the best they can, so and they're actually very accurate when you have, a full lead list from your CRM that has things like address data. That way you'll have anyone that has a Facebook profile, you'll pretty much be able to run a campaign to those people. Working with that data, though, you want to do it right because Facebook's going to charge you to do so. But that's really where you'd want to start doing things where, rather than promoting, I'm Renee and I'm a realtor and an agent that works in probate, that's where the good sales copy comes in. People aren't looking right now exactly to purchase any old property, but they might want to know something like how effective can it be to sell your property to an investor? That's the type of question or sales copy that might make someone curious, and once they get to that landing page, they might not be looking for things like probate and dealing with a probate property right now, but that question has them thinking. I've dealt with investors before. I've turned down their phone calls. Was I wrong to do that? Now they're going to click. Now what Facebook will come back and tell you later, they'll be able to say, out of this audience that we showed this ad to, you had X amount of people engage or click through this ad. If they haven't gotten to your website and converted somewhere on your website, you can retarget just that smaller segment. So now you're funneling your audience down further. So that's one way, and it sounds like a lot. It's a really simple user interface once you're actually into it. The Facebook business page will walk you through it. Really your most important thing is, what is your approach? What is the value pitch that you're presenting to these customers on Facebook? Just like we want you to open your calls by providing value and addressing their problems first, You just want to make sure that anything you put into a Facebook ad, whether it's a graphic image, a video, or sales copy, you're really putting that person's prospective problem first. And as always, probates usually deal with reverse mortgage issues, distressed property situations, urgency, a fear of working with a realtor or an investor. So you can set this audience you have to run maybe 3 or 4 different ads to, each one of those addressing one of those 3 or 4 fears, and then you'll be able to target people based on which one that they were interested in and they clicked. So that gives you some type of insight into how you can push that lead forward and retarget them until they're ready to get in contact with you.
What you said just made sense, and I have been in conversation with someone who's a little bit more of like a social media marketing type person, so it makes sense. I just haven't done it, right? So the logistics of that don't make entire sense to me because I'm literally not even on the court, with that, but I know it's not difficult. So I think for me, it sounds like, let me do the mailers, let me get on the phone, let me, get 1 or 2 transactions kind of under my belt, and then maybe the Facebook ads, something like that. Like I don't have to throw
Yep, I definitely
Facebook
agree.
money.
And I think that you can set the duration you want to target a certain audience as well. So if you're going to upload a specific lead list that you have that you've reached out to by phone or that you've sent direct mail to, you can set the duration on Facebook to say maybe you want to reach out to this audience for the next 120 days. You can determine how many ads you want them to be shown and what frequency within that, but you'll know 6 months from now when you're working with 6 different lead lists from different months, you'll still have it set up initially in Facebook to touch these people every 45 days. So Facebook is pretty easy to keep organized and stay up to date with once you initially get your ad campaign set up. And of course, you do want to dedicate, 10 minutes every week looking at your ad insights and seeing if there's anything you should tweak.
Okay, that makes sense. And I would think that you guys don't have some general statistic like you have with, these are the 20 letters that we know to work and convert. You don't have that at all, not so much the ad itself, but even just enough people and all the leads working Facebook ads with some sort of probate languaging. You don't even know if it works or not. It's something I'd probably have to do. So this would be,
I think maybe we can post in the Mastermind group and ask people to share their experiences. It's something that's going to vary with every single market, and again, sales copy can make all the difference as well. So I could be marketing to the same demographic of people as somebody else is, but maybe my ad copy is confusing or not clear or doesn't have a good value pitch. So I could be marketing to the same audience with different success. So it's really, successful social media marketing is a compilation of multiple factors coming in together at the right place and right time. I think that's something, a good brainstorming post on the Mastermind would give you some feedback, especially since you'll be able to speak with people from different markets that are working in probate to see their specific results. I was going to say on our end, we're marketing business to business primarily, which again, when you're targeting vendors, things like other investors you might want to add to your list, you can actually multi-purpose some of the ads that you run on Facebook for your consumers, for your leads, to something that will entice investors to want to look at you too. If an investor sees you post, educational content, why you should consider selling to an investor. If I was an investor, I'd click and listen to that because I'd want to be able to use that information when I'm handling objections trying to find my own clients. So now that person will know who you are. That investor in your market, that wholesaler, that flipper in your market will know your name because you're the author of that post, and put something in the bottom of that post on your blog. Like, hey, if you're an investor or a wholesaler in this area, reach out to me. Let's network. Let's get some referrals going back and forth. Another golden rule, give people 80% of some type of valuable content. And the bottom 20% of it, when they get to the end of this article that they loved and learned something from, go all out. I'm Renee. I do this. If you ever need help looking for off-market deals or listing or selling your own property, finding out how much your property is worth, you can list all the things you do in the bottom of that article and people won't look at it like self-promotion anymore. They'll look at it as, I just read something I was interested in, and you can do this for me. So you've kind of funneled them through a method that just looks purely educational.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, and lastly, because I know this question's gone on and other people have questions, is there, I'm just going to use the word like squeeze page, lead page. Where's the etiquette and protocol now? Like, do you ask somebody, I still see like, oh, sign up for this or buy that, and then people have a secondary page. Is that something that you would recommend in this? Because there's nowhere to sort of capture the lead. Now they're just floating out there hoping they remember who I am when they need my services.
So it depends on the purpose or your intended goal of the campaign you're running. If your end campaign is something like brand awareness, you know, you got to realize that doing this through Facebook, what Facebook is doing for you is tracking who paid attention to it. If someone clicks a picture to zoom in on the picture or read the comments, Facebook's going to be able to tell you someone clicked and interacted with this post. If you use a video, which I highly recommend, it doesn't even need to be the prettiest video, just make it valuable and informative and personable, minute long. You can actually sort out and segment audiences based on who viewed the video for 95% of its duration. And, you know, information like that is valuable because you know that specific lead who Facebook already has a thumbprint for was interested enough in your content that they watched pretty much your whole video. That tells you a lot more about that person. If someone dropped off within 3 seconds, probably not interested in what that video content was about. Maybe they need to be approached differently with a different type of ad, or they're not interested at all. They don't have a property to sell. They're a lost lead. So really, you know, Facebook, I think, provides a lot more than you'll realize before you really dive into it. It's one of those things that I would say you're drinking from a fire hose your first time jumping into it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, okay, I'll leave it at that, and then as I do it, I'll swing back and ask you, based on what I'm doing, like what kind of lead capture. I hear what you're saying about branding. That's just kind of a generalized commercial. You know, like if you were watching a commercial on TV, they're not asking me to get my contact information. It's only if like, hey, if I want this, you know, call this number or whatever. But I'm talking about the ones that also have click-throughs. It's almost like from, you know, 4, 5, 6 years ago where it would be here, enter in your email and phone number.
There, make sure your, whatever, if you want to call a landing page, your squeeze page, make sure it's on a domain that you own. Don't just hire like a 123 form builder or any site like that to make the landing page for you, because what you can do, set up your Facebook pixel, which is a tracking tool. You can put that pixel, and I'd say go ahead and put it on every page of your website if you're gonna land people on one part of your main website, but this page just has the capture form for more information. Put your Facebook pixel there, because Facebook, if you set the parameters, someone clicks through your ad, but they don't fill out the form, they don't convert, you can have Facebook pixel automatically retarget them with a multi-touch campaign.
Is that something we can do with the All the Leads site?
Yep, so with that, are you using, as long as we have a capture form, there's an option where you can get the capture form. I think maybe Darcy, Jordan, Natalie could go into that a bit more. But you have the option to have a capture form landing page with your ATL credibility pages. And I could probably put together a quick guide on how to go to Facebook, get your pixel set up. It's really easy to do. They just pretty much give you a code, and then you want to go to any page you want, whether it's your ATL website or your own website that's not through ATL. All you have to do is paste the code Facebook gives you between the head tags in your website. So it's a quick guide I can put together with some pictures. That way, again, you can use it really any way you want to use it.
That would be great. Yes to that. Thank you. I'll start there.
Yeah.
At least have that done. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. No problem. Again, any questions, add them in the mastermind group. That way I'm accountable and I remember to get to it. All right, we're going to move on. I don't see, okay, there's no caller ID here, but it's phone number ending in 0625. Can you hear us?
Yeah, this is Theodore. Can you hear me?
Hi, Theodore.
Yeah, out in California. Yeah, I have a question. Are questions related to Facebook advertising, or is it just general?
So my personal experience, I've pretty much used every platform you can think of at least once doing some type of marketing. I would say Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, which Instagram is really part of Facebook, and LinkedIn are really my hard-hitting categories where I know the ins and outs pretty well, even the most recent updates. But I'm ready for anything.
Okay, well, my question is, and you can tell me if it's relevant or not, I wanted to know about potential dispositions. I'm kind of scattered right now. The idea of getting a list, calling the list, and presenting the particular philosophy that ATL has is pretty clear. But let's see, okay, now I have a rapport with someone, I have an appointment with someone, and I go talk to them. What are the most popular dispositions when, say, you get a house on contract or you get the interest of a client? I'm thinking of even some joint ventures, bird dogging, wholesaling, listing, leasing. What are the most popular ones that you happen to know of?
So are you looking just for how to word when you're advertising a listing or deal that you're trying to sell through social media advertising?
You know, my question is kind of a statistical one. Is first of all, just statistically, just do you have an impression what happens to most houses, most of these leads that actually have come to some kind of fruition? And the second question is, what, you know, do you have any recommendations online? Should I lean people toward lease options or just a listing or whatever?
Sure. So again, that's one of the things that's going to come down to your specific market. You know, a lot of neighborhoods are just they're keeping up with the Joneses. The properties are really well kept. In that type of neighborhood, you know, a lot of the houses would be best to go for full resale price. Things like that. There's going to be other neighborhoods.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm not licensed, so then I just have to have a relationship with different realtors until I get licensed. And all right.
I know that this has been discussed on previous, mastermind calls where Chad has approached, the family as both the agent and the investor. I'm sure that we can find that call and send that over to you. I know that he has taught before that he is very upfront and honest with the families, kind of see exactly where they're at in this probate, what they need help with, what they're thinking, if they need the fast cash offer, if they're looking more to list to the house. You kind of want to be able to offer them anything that they would need help with going through it, whether that is, most of the time they're not aware of what wholesaling is, but if they're just looking to get out of the house for that fast cash offer, if you can offer them something that, you know that you can wholesale, then that's great. But it's really just, talking to the family, figuring out where they're at in the process, and, getting them engaged in a conversation to see what they're looking for, with presenting them with these different options.
Right.
But I know that Chad discussed that. I'd be happy to find those previous mastermind calls, and I can send those over to you.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah.
And I'm sure that Kat can also post it in the Facebook when she uploads this call.
Can I rephrase that question?
Yeah.
You've probably heard of the book, The One Thing, and I'm thinking, they say, okay, you should focus on one thing and get good at that. Yet if you're doing this probating thing, you don't know what you're going to come up with, what skill you're going to need, because there's a half a dozen different ways that might be best for the personal representative and family, something like that. So so I'm thinking if I focus on one thing, I'm going to be leaving a whole lot of money on the table by not being a generalist and being able to handling a variety of solutions. So what you have a comment on that?
Hey, I was going to say you got to focus on people first. I'd say people first is a thing.
Yeah. So you're saying then I should be prepared for a variety of circumstances then, rather than just focusing on the one thing and farming out everything else?
Sure, but keep in mind, have you seen any of our content, that's centered around building your team of vendors and professionals without really having to put any of your own money and time up front or on the line at all?
Yeah, I have. I don't recall what it said in terms of finder's fees and that sort of thing, or joint venture splits.
Sure. So with joint venture
what I'm saying
splits,
is there's an ethical way of monetizing the thing.
well, with joint venture splits, Chad's key piece of advice is make sure you're going into joint venture with someone that's already dealt with anything that could come up in a probate situation, reverse mortgage situations and all of that. Really, what that boils down to is finding the right joint venture partner. And if you aren't already working with people, it sounds like you might already have people in mind to JV with.
Right. In mind, but I'm looking for more. The process has just kind of begun.
Chad's recommendations, depending on your market, show up to the auctions, because that's where, think about places where the sharks in your market are going to gather for investment opportunities. Your RIA meetings, your auctions, they'll all be in the courthouse when there's properties going up for bid. That's where you can really go network with a few people, hand out your business card, explain to them what you do and what you're looking for, and let them talk. Let them share their experiences and their specialties. And when you hear some of them listing, we specialize in short sales and really distressed property situations, probate issues where title might need some work before a title can clear. Those are the joint venture partners you probably want to work with, because the time efficiency will be there. They'll put just as much into the situation as you will.
If auctions have gone completely online in my area, is it possible to network with the people buying at auctions by doing it online? Is there a way of the auction set up for that?
So what I would do
you can
there,
have communication with other,
what I would do there, there's always people meeting up independently. There's a site called Meetup. I don't think they have a hyphen in the name. I can actually check. But you'd really want to look for those gatherings in your area. Just because it's not going to be in the courthouse doesn't mean it's not motivated investors getting together, meeting up for other reasons. There's always something. If you're familiar with Connected Investors as well, it's a nationwide
I'm writing that
networking.
down. I'm not. Connected Investors?
I can put it in the links in our recap as well. But yes, Connected Investors, think of it as a LinkedIn specifically for investors, flippers, and wholesalers. It's nationwide, but you can curate, I'm located here and I'm looking to work with people that are located here, and you can kind of fine-tune, and people will send invitations back and forth or requests. It'll say, I get notifications all the time. I live in Cocoa, Florida. It'll come up, there's X amount of new investment properties, or this person's looking for X person to work with in your area. So it's a really great referral networking platform in the investment area.
Great. Okay, and you or the other gal said that you would send me some information on particular phone calls.
We're gonna look for Chad's
you need my phone number?
way of presenting himself. I can get it right here from the caller ID, or if you want to shoot us an email at support@alltheleads with your email address, that way we know we can email it back and forth. It will be linked to content online.
Where would I send that to?
support@alltheleads.com.
And you send you my email address?
Yep, let us know that you're Theodore from the call. This is your email, and we can get the call recap with all the resources we're talking about sent over to you.
Cool. Alltheleads.com. Now, that's not an email address. It's just go to the website, and then is there a contact us?
Support@alltheleads.com.
Would you repeat that?
Support@alltheleads.com.
Okay, that's an email address. Cool. Very cool. Thank you so much. You've been very, very helpful.
Awesome, no problem. Jordan also just sent me a message. He's already you must have worked with Jordan before. So yes, we have your information right in the CRM there. So we actually have your email already.
Oh, cool. I'll look for it.
Awesome. Give me some time and I'll get an email out to you with some good information.
What is your name?
Kat.
What is your Cats?
Yep, like a dog, but a cat.
I just want you to know, Kat. That right now I am metaphorically hugging you around the ankles.
Aw. Well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here for the hurricane we're getting.
Okay. Oh, dear. Okay, good. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. Take care now. Next up, hello, David. Can you hear us?
Yeah, Kat, but I forgot my question.
Yeah, you do that a lot. You'll remember.
I know. so you can skip me for now.
Sure.
Oh,
Jump back in the queue. Oh, you remember?
No, I was just going to tell that lady, the first lady, that
Renee.
just, yeah, about the social media stuff. It's just all about putting that stuff out there, because we sent a postcard to a guy 9 months ago, and he just finally called us, and we secured that deal, but just because of the videos that were going to him or he was finding online. So it just reaffirmed that we knew what we're doing.
So were you using Facebook, were you uploading your contact list to Facebook and targeting your custom list?
Not on not specifically Probate yet. Not retargeting the list we buy from you guys yet. But we're putting them in the group of the whole CRM though.
Sure. Awesome. So if Renee's still listening and anyone new on the call, this is David Pennell speaking. You know, he really went out and put into practice the multi-touch approach that we teach. I don't know if you want to give the quick numbers on how many touches you make with mail and calls and that real quick for anyone listening.
Well, we did stop the letters for a moment, but it doesn't matter what you send to them. It just matters that you're sending something to them. Just like the phone calls, it doesn't matter how you script them, how you talk to them. It just matters if you get them on the phone. And at first, it's going to be the hardest phone call you ever make in your dear life. Any phone call that but after you do it, after you get through the basics of knowing what to say from what y'all are teaching, it gets incredibly easier. It gets so easy. It's amazing the response from these people once you have just a little bit of skill behind you. But we're not converting on the first phone call. It's taken several repeated phone calls because they're not ready. But man, by gosh, they know about us.
And
I told Chad a month ago or 2 months ago.
Too.
Yeah, we got from buying about 6,000 leads from you guys over the last 8-9 months. We've narrowed it down to about 900 people that have a house to sell in Dallas-Fort Worth. So if I just get 10% of that list, which is the goal, 8 to 10%, that's going to be 80 homes. And we've already gotten 33 of them. So we've already done 33 of them. So it works. You just got to work it.
And I was going to say, you're perfect to have on the call right now, too. You're just like a walking case study for all things that I might have to ask. But Theodore's first question was really, you know, what is the end result of a lot of these leads? And I think in your experience, since you have 3 different entities where you do the cash offers, the as-is, and the full retail, you obviously go into the situation kind of knowing what someone's best solution probably is, but you're finding a good mix of different opportunities there. You've done your own acquisitions, you've wholetailed, and you've listed probate property. So it's a good mix, you would say.
Absolutely. And I think you have to be that type of person on these type of leads. You can't be, you know, when I'm calling expires, I'm the rough and the aggressive David. On probate, I'm a sincere and seeing what they want to do, what's their goals. We have a lady that's coming in literally like 30 minutes at 1:15 my time. It's a foreclosure lead, but we're converting it the same way we do probate. And the difference of her taking a cash offer and putting on the market based on condition is $2,100. Does she want to risk that and pay $10,000 in commissions, or just take $20,000? So you just got to show them. Yeah, you got to show them what, you know, our ultimate goal is to buy the house, but we're going to be completely transparent with them. We're not going to hide anything. We're going to send them reports. We're going to send them in the time it takes to convert, 5 to 6, 7, 8 months. We're sending them CMAs every month, market reports, videos, open houses. You know, by the time they get ready to sell, all I think of us.
A good strategy when you do start delving into Facebook ads and campaigns for probate would just be the case studies, the testimonials from the people that you're helping with, that the first time they heard of you or your company, they might have thrown your letter in the trash. They didn't think that you'd provide anything that they needed, and really let them show on camera, you know, David kept at it, and this is what he was able to accomplish for us. And that'd be a great video ad to throw up on Facebook when you start targeting probate leads specifically.
And it's all brands. The new thing that I'm learning in a different coaching group is the brand story. Make sure you make them the hero. There's several videos on YouTube. So we're just customizing everything to be our past clients as the hero. And
Awesome. That's exactly
our goal is
to
it's easy. These things are so easy to convert once you learn, but do one step at a time. If anybody's listening out there, don't try to put everything in. Go quarter by quarter, like the guy said. Do that book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. Yeah, but the one thing is probate. So get rid of everything else that you're trying to purchase, lead sources, and then just break down what you're going to do for that probate lead over the next 4 quarters, a year and a half, which is our goal. We're a year into these leads. We started last July. Didn't know much. Didn't even get on these calls, and we just took it bull by the horns and started calling them, sending them "We Buy Houses" letters, which are totally wrong. Now it's all about we're following exactly the way that y'all are teaching now, but it's a case studies.
If anyone hasn't seen it, David kind of outlays his whole roadmap from, getting no activity. He wasn't really approaching it right, and finally hit himself on the top of the head and got his system lined out, and his pipeline is incredible right now. So if you haven't seen that, it's on the All the Leads YouTube channel. It's under I think we have a couple of videos we pulled highlights from, but if you just search David Pinnell on our channel, you'll be able to pull it up. I'll also link to it in our recap as well. Even if you've watched it, you might have tuned it out. Watch it again. There's just so many nuggets in there.
Yeah, and we'll be back next year, and I'll just update the video, hopefully with Chad next June. And we're going to be probably, my prediction is that we're going to dominate the whole Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Awesome. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking 20 a month from just probate alone. It's crazy.
Awesome. Well, did you get to the question that you forgot? Or?
Oh, no, I was just listening, and I had a question I forgot, but both the people said the one thing about what they're doing, and you just got to put content out there. You got to put them in your regular database and market to them kind of vaguely. But that one guy, just work on one thing, and that's probate. Go in all in and just break it down 1 quarter at a time. So not really a question, but a statement, I guess.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it's always good feedback. They were looking to hear it from someone that's put it into practice, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome, David.
Sorry to dominate the call.
It's okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, David. We appreciate it.
I'll say next up, we have phone number ending in 9167. Can you hear us?
Hello there. This is Jose from South Florida. How are you guys today?
Good. How are you?
Getting ready for the storm like you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the call. And the question I have is in regards to, in regards to the normal ad copy, for probate sellers. What's your view on providing an incentive, like a financial incentive, like let's say a gift card to have a person-to-person meetup, let's say a $100 gift card if we're able to meet? Is that something that's even worth considering? And, trying to get that, expedite that first initial person-to-person meetup so that at that point I can, pretty much get them in the same room face-to-face, and that way we can have more of a bond in terms of the services and ways that I can help them. What's your viewpoint on that?
Is this ad copy that you're just trying to put out on social media, or is it on your print marketing?
Yeah, like on a Facebook and a postcard, Facebook postcard and door drop in terms of, or mail drop in terms of, this is my services and offerings, and as a bonus or incentive, if we can set up an initial meeting, then I can provide a $100 Visa gift card as a courtesy for our initial meetup. And then from that point, we can set the time and discuss what their needs are, and then at that point, I can provide them, kind of a full scope of the services that I can provide them, kind of at a more human level as opposed to a more salesy level.
So to not sound salesy, I would immediately change that copy to a let's get lunch. That way you're implying you're providing something. It's an incentive for them to meet up. It's warmer than just here's a gift card. I think people associate that chance to win a gift card, free gift card, with more salacious types of advertising. And to me, connotations are really important in good ad copy. Let's get lunch sounds like someone's treating you to something. It's not just a handout because I'm trying to get you to buy something from me. The other thing I want to ask, it sounds like you might be already incorporating this into your print mail, which makes sense because you know what addresses you're going to be dropping these off to. But with social media, how are you targeting your audience? Just because you don't want to make this pitch to somebody that lives out of state, oftentimes personal representatives might not live nearby where the property is.
Right.
So it could be exclusionary if you're making it, some type of location. With a lunch on me, you could have DoorDash deliver something to them, and you could jump on the phone, have a virtual lunch, something like that. But how are you targeting these people digitally to do the ads?
It would be, I haven't done it yet, but it would be through Facebook, Instagram, and I have the addresses, and this is in addition to Probate. I do other lead sources, but incorporating Probate to add this because it seems like in addition to getting this issue resolved for the family, obviously, and I think in most transactions, money is the bottom line, and to differentiate, the normal ad copy that, other advertisers may be doing is some sort of incentive besides a free guide, would be a financial kind of incentive as opposed to just a, booklet or a guide incentive.
Sure. One thing I do, since you haven't really kind of taken the dive into Facebook advertising yet, last year around, I think, October, maybe November already, the Housing Authority won this suit they brought forth against Facebook because Facebook was letting, housing and credit industry professionals as well as employers and recruiting firms target their advertising towards protected classes. So Facebook kind of pulled the curtain back on that real quick. They immediately removed some of the address, age, and gender targeting. And they're still changing their algorithms right now. I think we'll find with time that it'll get less aggressive as people forget the wounds and the hurt goes away. But right now, if you're going to be targeting by specific zip codes, there will be a minimum of a 15-mile radius. So that's just something to keep in mind. I don't know, 15 miles here isn't that significant, but if anyone on this call lives in like the Los Angeles area where 15 miles could turn into a 2-3 hour commute, just keep in mind if you're going to be using zip code targeted ads on Facebook, there will be a minimum requirement of a 15-mile radius in doing so. I think your traffic's probably not that dire near you.
Miami gets kind of dicey sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, so there is other ways to do that. Again, you can upload custom lists of leads you already have. That way you're only targeting the people that you can control the addresses of those people since you have that data before you upload that list to Facebook to create a custom audience. But also keep in mind, are you familiar with Facebook's lookalike audiences where and they're pretty accurate with it. If you have an audience, but you want an audience that's like that, you just want a bigger audience with similar criteria. Facebook's really good at kind of matching you with more people that are like who you're already targeting. Unfortunately for real estate and credit industry professionals, they're also removing that locality, that proximity feature, that proximity likeness from one of the criteria that you can create a lookalike audience with. It hasn't completely rolled out. They're rolling it out through the end of the year. I'm thinking I'll put out a blog post once Facebook actually releases it, so I know. I don't want to make speculative guesses. All I know is that Sheryl Sanders had come forward and said that they are removing that feature from the lookalike audience builder. But there are other ways around it. Like I said, you're working with the lead lists already, so you already have the address information. You just got to take a little bit of work and scrub that list before you're uploading it to Facebook to do something with it. That way you're not driving around offering to meet with people who might live an hour and a half away.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, and
Thank you
again,
very
Facebook
much.
can change overnight. No problem. Thanks for your question. All right, next up we have phone number ending in 5916. Can you hear us? It's coming up as a Steven for me. Phone
Hello?
number ending in 5. Oh, there we go. We can hear you now.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm
It's
trying to
okay.
figure it out. I'm not a Luddite when it comes to technology, but sometimes I got to wonder.
It's okay. If you heard me on the last call, I did the same thing.
Yes, ma'am, and I totally get it, so my apologies. What I really want to know is I'm a struggling wholesaler. In other words, I'm in a program. I haven't made the first deal. If anything, I kind of was struggling with the whole concept of the selling thing, just because there's negative connotation with sales. And when I heard Chad on a podcast with Clayton Morris talk about, hey, the service that you provide, the value innovation, blue ocean strategy, yes, I did get the book based on Chad's recommendation. I'm reading it. It clicked for me. So I see this as a campaign. I'm a part-timer, but my question for you is I see this as a campaign, but what is the frequency of people who start off as a campaign to actually work fully into probate?
So I think that would be a better question for our group. Unfortunately, I guess fortunately, it's a good thing. The seat I sit in, I work most often with the people that stick with it and keep coming back. So I don't really have experience having conversations with people that tried to get into probate and then abandoned ship. I don't know if maybe Jordan.
Yeah, don't want to abandon. No,
yeah, I think
I don't want to
Jordan,
do that.
Natalie, Darcy, if you guys have insight there. They're our sales team, so they have more insight on the people that might not be so successful at first and how maybe they came back and became successful.
Well, one of the things I don't have is as a retired Army officer, I've never sold anything. I mean, I've negotiated influence to do those things, but in terms of selling a product, yeah, that's not what I'm trying to get smarter on it. I think after 30 years in the Army, I proved I was trainable. But what I'm trying to find out is, hey, this is speaking to me in terms of probate, be able to provide that servant leadership to a family that has a lot of issues. And sure, I mean, you want to get paid for your value, but what you really want to do is provide that service, because that's what's really going to drive me. I know that. I'm just wondering how this evolves, or if it evolves. Or maybe I'm asking the wrong question.
And I think, I don't know, I heard one of our sales team jump in.
So yeah, this is Jordan. What separates the ones who, maybe do it for 2 months and then stop and the ones that continue with it is the consistency. You want to follow the training we teach. It's the value first approach, not a conversation that's me-centric, but what are you up against? Focus on their unique situation because it will be different from maybe the next person you'll call. But it's about the consistency of, making the phone calls, providing that value first approach, and continually following up with those leads. Like David shared earlier, he follows up with his leads for years, some even longer than that. But the ones who we see a lot who will go through our training, who then send a round of mail, make one round of calls, don't get any immediate results, and then they're kind of looking for the next shiny object because they said, okay, this didn't really work for me. But if you go back the second month on the first list that you have and go through and make another call campaign to them. If you can send, another letter, that's ideal. You have to factor in your marketing budget for the mail, but also your time. But staying consistent with it, following up with the leads, believing in what you do is going to be another really big thing. If you don't believe in what you're offering and the help and services you're providing, it's going to come across in your phone calls, and it won't sound sincere. So we've just found that the ones who stick with it are willing to, follow the training, make the calls, follow up with the leads, and stay consistent with it, and the business will follow if you do that. Did that answer the question? Or?
Yeah, it does. If actually it gets to the point, and I'm not a shiny objects guy, I just saw that this part of it was, wow, this really speaks to me, and I can still be a wholesaler as well and work through that and be able to provide that level of service. So it's, again, I saw it as a campaign, but, does a campaign evolve to where you're pretty much working probate solely, which would be fine. I don't know. I think that's just it. I don't know what I don't know.
We have a few, I would say veterans in this field who they pretty much work strictly off referrals that they've built from what they started with their first probate campaigns, just because of the value they were able to provide. Now that they can just get referrals from not just the families that they've worked with that have other property needs, but the vendor and professionals like attorneys that they might have worked with along the way.
Right. Okay. No, it's very helpful.
Yeah, and even, wholesaling the deals, working probate, you will come across, ones who have that real sense of urgency. They have bills and expenses that have piled up in the probate. Maybe there's debts that are owed, and they're feeling overwhelmed because as the executor, they have to handle all those responsibilities, follow the legal guidelines, and, they could be stressed to think, well, how's this all going to be paid for? If there's real estate that needs to be sold, they may not have the time to list and wait to get that cash. I mean, maybe they do, but if they need the cash to pay off those debts, the fees, maybe taxes, whatever the case is, being able to bring them a cash offer, of course, wholesaling, get it under contract, have a buyer that can then bring the cash to them, that is going to be beneficial. Not everyone is going to need the fast cash offer. And of course, if they don't, you want to recommend them to the other team members that you've put together. If they're looking to get the property listed, maybe it has junk that needs to be removed, personal property, whatever the case is, you can still refer them over to team members of yours, even if they're not looking for that fast cash offer on the property where you'll benefit and make the money from. You'll keep your team happy by referring them out to other, for other services like dealing with the personal property, repairs if they need, family law attorneys, whatever the case is, a moving company maybe. And then, you want to have an agent on your team. If they're looking to list and sell the property for top dollar, you can, refer them to that agent. Make sure that agent has your back, of course, because if 3 months down the road, if they haven't found a buyer and they're still waiting and the person may be getting a little more antsy, for lack of a better term, then you want that realtor to say, well, of course, we can still bring you that cash offer. Let me get you back in contact with him, and so then you can still go over that with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the idea that you can bring a bunch of people together and get them to what they need to do, even if there's nothing in it for you other than the fact of a reciprocity from some of their vendors or even a referral from a family realizing, hey, he helped me put this together, that's what counts. And that clearly spoke to me when I listened to Chad. That was a wow factor.
Yeah, I think this will be a good niche for you, Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen. I think Chad had that same kind of, when he figured out the training, when he was working the leads himself too, he was kind of falling on his face, just, focusing on himself and, how can I benefit from making this phone call to you, and I want to buy your house. And, it was then when he realized that, wait, I'm focusing too much on me and not much on them, what they're going through. That was the moment it clicked, and, it kind of became more easy for him then. And, but he was very successful testing it out in his local markets in Virginia as well.
I've never listened to a podcast 4 times. I listened to that one 4 times, and I'm reading the book that he recommended. So that's the level of impact he had on me, or has on me, I should say.
Stephen, I will make sure he hears that feedback from you, and just for whenever you have some free time, we have over 600 hours of archived content, mostly with Chad leading the way on our YouTube channel as well as our website, if you want to dive into that.
Right. You guys have sent it to me. I'm signed up for training in September. Whenever that's posted, I'm there. I'm ready.
Very
awesome.
Nice.
Definitely excited. If you aren't already, you're in the CRM already with us. Have you spoken to a salesperson off the call?
Well, no, I went in and I signed up. I paid $250 and asked.
Okay,
my
you already
question,
signed up. Awesome. You'll get the notifications as soon as it's scheduled.
Right. I did call on that saying, hey, I don't see the dates on your calendar. Well, it hasn't been scheduled yet. Okay, cool. So I'm ready.
Yeah, he's out at sea right now.
You're ready. No, I totally get it. When he's ready, I'm there.
And
awesome.
Stephen,
well,
one other
so
thing
much,
that
Stephen.
Oh, sorry, Kat. One other thing I was thinking is also the way you want to think of it too is that even if they can't benefit from working with you right now, getting them that cash offer, if you're willing to go out of your way to offer, those vendors the other services, you're kind of adding these people to your sphere of influence, and you never know down the road, they might have a property that they need to sell, and they might, maybe it's a friend or a family or a referral from them. So you never really know what can happen down the road, but you're adding everyone into this kind of sphere of influence, and the doors could open, in many different ways. So it's just a nice way to get business down the road, and you're still helping them out in the present time now. So just something extra I wanted to mention too.
Awesome. I'd already jumped on to the next caller, but I wanted to make sure he heard your answer, Jordan. Next up, we have caller ending in 4309.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Evelyn from Pennsylvania, and I'm new and didn't even get my first set of leads yet. And I don't have a question, but I just want to thank David Pinnell for the tips and encouragement he's willing to jump in and give to us.
Aww.
He's a real encouragement to me to get started and make a success of this. So thanks to David.
Awesome. I'm not sure if I see him on this call still. He's not, unless he has a different caller ID. I'm not seeing him, but I will tag him when I make the call recap so we can hear your feedback.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for being with us. All right, next up we have 2 more in the queue, so we're going to try to crunch this up and get you guys out of here so you can get working before the weekend comes along. But next up we have 7428.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you? This is Dave out here in Colorado, and yeah, I got on the call a little late, and then I heard that it was you and your background, and it was funny. I got my first lead follow lead as I was on the call, and so I wanted to.
Oh, that's crazy. Maybe we brought some good luck here. I think
That's
the
right.
4 of us should host these calls more often.
That's right, and yeah, it's yeah, going back to Steven's call, just the last caller there. First thing, thank you for your service. Sounds like he was in the service for quite some time, and for me, it's all about the mindset, and then really, especially if you're getting into wholesaling, it's all about being a buyer. So you're not even selling anything; you're just selling yourself, and we do that every day. So it's just, those little mindset shifts can really make a huge difference. And yeah, I think funny how that works. I'm on the call, and you're the one kind of leading the call today, and sure enough, lead hits. And so I thought I might ask, what's the best way to jump on the phone and make that call? Just, I guess, similar to any other call.
Similar, but that they have some type of intent, whether they have an urgent need right now, perhaps something with the
Right.
property it really needs to be dealt with, or maybe they have an emotional need. Maybe they're just so overwhelmed right now. So I would introduce yourself, say that you're following up with them, and kind of ask an open-ended question, like, so what's
Sure.
going on? Like, talk to me about where you are in the situation, and then let them talk, because they're going to start with what's the biggest priority to them is going to be what they shoot off at you first. And then you can kind of gauge your approach and what solution to offer.
Sure.
Yeah, good
Great.
luck. Definitely,
Yeah.
If you're going to call them after this call, you think?
Oh yeah, right away. I got it.
Let us
queued
know.
up here.
Come into the Facebook group and let us know how that goes.
Sure will. And can you give me a quick kind of synopsis of what they just went through? I'm only at the lower level lead follow. So they saw the impression, they clicked on it, and then they filled out the information. And then
Yeah, so
did they wind up on my site after that, or?
there's different ways that they could end up going. They're going to fill out, if you captured the information, it's going to be with the AI chatbot that's set up there. So it doesn't necessarily indicate that they've left and gone to visit your website. But 9 times out of 10, what most people do after they do something like that is they jump to Google or they search the website themselves, and they're probably poking around and doing some research. To me, if they're curious, they're going to have a specific question or a need that made them fill out that form. You just got to have them tell you what that is when you call, but they're opting in for you to call them and find out.
Right. Yeah, and I'd like to update the contact methodology specific to any lead follow-up leads so that it drops right into my CRM and I get another notice there, and also I have some autoresponder type text messages that would say, hey, got your call, got your placing our website, I'll be calling you shortly.
This is the number you're calling from now. If you want us, maybe we could have someone reach out and they can update that information for you.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
Let me send your number down real quick. And other than that, make sure you go make that call and give us your feedback. I want to know how that goes.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll hear from you soon.
Great.
All right. And Renee, you're back in the queue. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. I like David, I kind of forgot my question and he's off. I'll ask it in there. I more just wanted to see, because he kept saying, you know, people have mentioned the one thing on here a few times, and honestly, living in the area of Los Angeles that I live, sure, we have expireds. Yes, we have for sale by owners, but really neither of them have ever been a plethora of business like they are in other areas. And I'm just really looking at going narrow and deep on this. So maybe you guys or anybody on staff can speak to this immediate area. I know, you know, Chad's like, oh, LA is a, you know, really competitive market. I'm sure all sort of A cities are competitive, but what does that even really mean? And just staying consistent with it. The thought would be at least like one transaction, maybe a month, you know, for the first.
I think what David was referring to, because probate, I believe, is really the third pillar in David's business. He's been doing this for like 19 years, I think. And he just got into probate after really coming from the same background most people do with fizzles and expireds. What he means by being consistent is his whole team knows that they pretty much assume that their first attempted contact is going to be a low conversion, 2% or less. It's the second and third time, whether that's the phone, another letter, and now they're incorporating social media marketing to make, you know, multiple touches on social platforms, on mobile phones to reach these people. That's really when the brand awareness sets in, the trust sets in, and after that, they can actually call and land this deal, meet up with them in person, and work out the appropriate deal, no matter what the deal ends up being in the end. I don't think he particularly meant be consistent as far as stick with probate, only do probate. He needs to be consistent with don't give up on a lead just because it didn't pan out the first time you tried to connect with them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
And just before I get you guys off the phone, because I know we're going to do a holiday weekend, I sent back the next set of questions needed for the site to be set up, because I'm actually here for Labor Day. I'm going to be calling over Labor Day. Do you think that site would be available by tomorrow, like at least a shell of it?
Jordan, Darcy, Natalie, can you guys touch base with that for her?
For us building the custom probate websites, is that what we're referring to?
Yeah.
Yep.
It really depends on what the website team's schedule is and what they have in place. I can always message over them to see if they can expedite this for you.
Okay.
But usually it's like 3 to 5 business days is what I'm usually told. But I will absolutely see, what it is we can do for you.
I might be close on that. So even if everything isn't totally in alignment, just if it was maybe up, that would be great.
Okay, great. And I can follow up with you as well once I talk with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Renee. Again, if you remember that question, post it in the Facebook group. And then I know you've been waiting in the queue a while. I see Kenneth's in the queue. Can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful today, Kat. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. I just want to, again, I appreciate you for just how helpful you have been, and just the whole team, but especially you, especially on Facebook. You're welcome. I have a question
how much they work in the background of these calls between our teams chat helping us when the coaches have questions. The sales team's always giving an answer in the chat. right away.
Yeah, he's good about responding as well. He's great about responding actually to my emails. I have a question that's not marketing or Facebook related.
Sure.
I have a lead that it is now a contested will situation. The guy, I spoke to him a while back, told me to call on the 26th. Found out he had 3 houses in the estate, and his father had a will from 2012, and then just before his father died, the woman that he was married to, not the son's mother, had him to sign a new will. And of course, at that time, he was sick and on morphine and so forth. So they're battling over this in court. And one of the judge's recommendations was for them to go to some type of mediation. But because, according to him, the wife was also married to someone else at the same time, she married his dad. Yeah, so it really does. And she changed one of the houses into her name, and just some goofy things like that. And it's sounding like it's going to be like 2020 possibly before they even actually get to court on this situation. And it doesn't seem like his attorney from him is really being proactive. They're just answering various various filings that she makes. And so anyway, is there and I know you can't answer legal questions, but is there anything that I could tell him, or you could suggest that I tell him to help him expedite this in any way, or be more proactive?
One thing I would look into is, how did he choose his attorney? Is he someone that actually specializes in wills and litigation surrounding wills? Or is it just someone that maybe it's a personal friend that practices law and is trying to help him through this process and might have bit off more than he could chew? So I would, his attorney's background and see if he's really working with someone that's experienced in handling a contestation of a will. That'd be my first step. Beyond that, if it was a legal question, hopefully his attorney could answer it, or your client will see that, his attorney might not really be capable of representing him to the best of his ability through this type of scenario.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Keep us posted. I'm gonna ask Chad about that too. If he has any experience with a situation like that, some advice on how it might pan out, or some strategies for maybe if they've both agreed to mediation, the son and the wife. Perhaps there's something they could do to be proactive about the house now, even though neither of them has the authority to make a decision on selling it. They might want to start initiating repairs or staging or cleaning it out. That way you're kind of moving forward on the timeline, even if you can't get the property sold. So if you know that they are considering mediation, ask your client, is it possible that we could have a conference call, the three of us could talk and see if there's anything that we could get started on now to make this less of a headache in 2020.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but keep us posted. That sounds interesting. Yeah, no problem. Thank you. And then we have one last caller. Thanks for staying with us. We've gone over quite a bit, but phone number ending in 9011. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? My name's Joey. I'm from Florida, Jacksonville. How are you guys?
Uh-oh, you're going to get the hurricane too?
Yeah, probably. So I wanted to ask kind of a basic question. What is the real difference from somebody that's deceased? I would assume there would naturally go into probate their estate, and an estate sale and a probate. I mean, there's pre-probate, deceased, probate, estate. What's the best answer for a difference in all that?
So the actual criteria will vary depending on where you're actually located. And I'm not sure if Darcy and Jordan would have more information on this. They actually live in Jacksonville as well. But essentially, probate usually means that someone passed away and either they didn't have a will at all, they didn't have a plan for the personal property or the real property that belonged in the estate. Sometimes if their personal property is valued below a certain amount, they don't need to open up probate. They can just deal with it and the family can move on. Other times probate might need to be opened as if there's an issue with title or how deeds were transferred. Those would be situations where a personal representative would have to go to the court and open up the probate process to move forward with something they're trying to do with the personal belongings or the real property. And you said in comparison to, are you looking for how that differs from, property that has been put into a trust?
Well, I know what a land trust is because I've used them before, but like when you find estate, like estate of the tax records, what's the difference?
Oh, so an estate just refers to literally anything that fell under that person's name. I know people, it's kind of people use it synonymously. If estate, sometimes people refer to an actual house, an actual property as the estate. But in legal terms, the estate is anything that could have belonged to that person's name. Whereas the property itself could be part of the estate.
So an estate could be with somebody living even, you're saying?
Sure, yeah, because that's how they're planning on what to do with it when they pass. Their end-of-life planning is estate planning. That's really what you want to do with all of your wealth and your assets.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, an estate can or cannot include probate, whereas probate, I'm just trying to still understand. I think
probate will be filed when, there needs to be some type of determination on what the course of action is supposed to be for the estate of somebody who's deceased.
Okay.
And I would also just mention in there, probate is the legal process to transfer all of the assets that are held in that person's estate to the appropriate groups, whether that's to, children, heirs, siblings, whatever the will would state. If there's no will that was on file, then it goes by the state's laws. But when someone passes away, there, every state has a time period when someone, should file probate. Not everyone, abides by that. Maybe a state would say when someone dies within 9 months, their estate should be probated. But, not everyone does it in 9 months. We've seen the records 2 years, 10 years later where maybe that state of Florida actually does it for them because no one ever did it. And, creditors need to make claims on it. The assets need to be transferred down to the right people. So I think you had mentioned pre-probate. That's, I guess, anything that happens once they've passed away and leading up until the probate gets filed. You might hear sometimes of lead sources known as pre-probates, but a lot of the times that's just, death certificates really, and the idea is catching them before they filed probate. But that is a whole different lead source. It's kind of more of an aggressive response. We tend to wait until the probate gets filed before we'll collect that data because they've made the business decision that they need to handle this person's estate. The families either spoke with each other, they've talked to an attorney, found out what responsibilities need to be done, and then they'll actually, get in the car, drive down to the courthouse, maybe pay for parking. They've made the decision that they need to go in and file this paperwork to probate the estate. So does that kind of help as well?
Yeah. So I understand definitely now. And would you market the same for an estate as a probate?
Oh, I'm sorry. One more time, if you could ask that question. I apologize.
Would it be wise to market the same way towards a probate as an estate?
Well, I think Kat gave a good, the estate is someone's total assets, everything they own minus any liabilities that they have. So an estate, someone could be living and you could refer to someone's entire net worth as an estate. It's just probate's like the legal process of handling that estate once they've passed away. So like marketing to an actual estate, that person's still living. It's just all of the assets they own at this time, minus any debts and liabilities.
I would recommend, it sounds like what you might be getting at is, trying to catch people that might be in the estate planning process. Are you familiar with our YouTube channel and some of the training content that we've done related to networking with the different attorneys?
You know, I'm actually going to watch it. I have not watched anything. The first time I heard about the YouTube channel on this show, it's my second call. So I'll definitely go online and watch it, subscribe. So definitely.
Sure. So we've got 600 hours of content. We actually just had a recent, an hour-long interview with, his name is John Fracker. He is a real estate probate attorney and also an agent himself working in California. And I'm not sure where you're from, but California has some pretty crazy obstacles to deal with probate. So watching his video is actually really informative. It's a great place to start. But we've got tons of general advice geared towards going out there and building a referral network from different attorneys in your area. And that's not just limited to probate attorneys. Of course, you could likewise network with, you know, wills, estate planning, and trust attorneys as well.
Okay, beautiful.
Are you in our Facebook Mastermind group?
I am not. I have not subscribed yet to the program. I'm just kind of.
The Mastermind group is open to all. Do you use Facebook? Do you have a Facebook account?
Yeah, I do.
So just go to the search bar on Facebook, type All the Leads Mastermind. You'll see our group come up. We'll let you in, request to join it. I type up a recap of these calls. Usually I don't host it, so it'll probably take me a bit to go back and re-listen and type up everything that happened. But before the end of the day today, you'll see a recap. I also always include a bunch of relevant resources that were discussed during the call. I'll include some of the links to that content I'm referring to. That way you can kind of dive into that specifically and then start exploring anywhere else you want to go after that.
Okay, beautiful. I'll check it out.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, make sure you join that group. It's All the Leads Mastermind on Facebook.
I will. I wrote it down. One last question. It's a real quick answer, I'm sure. Is it feasible to market to these probate leads with SMS and RVM and not do the direct mail, at least in the beginning? Because obviously the direct mail is quite an expense.
We usually recommend not doing any type of, automated SMS or robo voicemailing for a bunch of, compliance reasons and solicitation issues that could arise. With this type of marketing, we also think it's a bit of an aggressive first touch approach. It's probably better to wait until you've reached out to them at least one other way before you send somebody a text message, because we are dealing with more of a sensitive situation. It isn't something we say totally don't do or yes, go ahead and do it, but there are obviously certain considerations to be made there.
I understand.
Yeah, and I think that, Kat, that's a good point. You don't want to lead with that type of marketing, but as follow-ups, things like that, the text blasts, we know we have subscribers that do use those from time to time. The same with the ringless voicemails. They have been used. Of course, with any ringless voicemail conversation, you really want to, study the TCPA guidelines to find out, when it is appropriate, when you can use the ringless voicemails. We've covered some of it in our previous mastermind calls too about the types of messages you use, when to use them, but just make sure you're compliant with the TCPA guidelines, because you don't want to get in trouble for sending out the ringless voicemails in a time if you maybe shouldn't be using them, let's say. And yeah, TCPA, there's a whole bunch of information on it as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. All right, so that clears our queue for the day. I want to pull a Jim here. We had great attendance as always. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks especially to those who jumped in and participated. I want to end this call as Jim always does. You heard some great ideas today. Take one idea, one thing that inspired you, go out and put it into practice and come back next Thursday and share it with the group. All right, and again, any questions that we couldn't answer on today's call, send us an email at support@alltheleads.com, write us in the Facebook group, or give us a call and we'll help you out. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great weekend, and if you're, Eastern, stay safe in the hurricane. Bye-bye.